Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to another episode of Chefs Know It All, where y'all gonna be joining us in some more cooking and conversation. So today, what we're gonna be making up for y'all, we have cod chowder. That's what we're gonna be making today. Why we chose cod chowder, you may ask? Because it's getting cold outside and we want to show y'all a cold weather meal that y'all can make that's gonna, keep you warm for these cold nights that we got coming up. You know what I mean? Right now we in November. Y'all probably not gonna see this till sometime in 2026. But again, we're doing a cod chowder. Now see we got all our ingredients laid out. Now let's go ahead and jump right into what we got going on. Now, right here, we have a little bit of water boiling. And what we're gonna be doing with this water right here is we're gonna be making kind of like a faux broth. Cause I didn't get any chicken broth. So I'm like, okay, let me just kind of make a little bit of a faux broth. So the reason why we call it a faux broth, because I'm not putting chicken in it, and I'm not putting vegetables in it. I'm really just about to add flavor to this boiling water and let it cook into it. So I'm able to add it to the chowder. So like I said, we got our water right here. It's not really boiling, it's more like simmering. So you don't want it like completely just boiling. You want to just keep it at a low simmer. First thing we're gonna chunk in there some of our EdibleDope seasoning mix. And it's fresh mixed up today too. So we're gonna chunk some of that in there. Not a whole lot, but we want to be generous with that though, for sure. All right, next we got a little bit of balsamic vinegar, and we're just gonna put a few swigs of that in there. Not a whole lot as well, because we don't want that to overpower the flavor of it. All right, we got a little bit of used cooking grease. I think I made chips with this grease. I'm not sure, but it got flavor in it. So we're gonna add that to that. And then we got one of our limes right here. We're gonna just squeeze that. Let me put get that a little cut so we can get all the juice out of there. And if you ever need to know how to get all the juice out of your lime, you just give it a little cut down the middle right there. You'll get a good amount of juice out of there. See how that juice coming out of there? Oh yeah. All right. And again, we're gonna just let that kind of just simmer over here on its own. You know what I mean? We can already smell the lime juice. Smell the balsamic, all that type of stuff. Seasoning in there, marinating, whatever. So yeah, we're gonna keep that right there. I'll set that right there. All right, and while that's going, we're gonna go ahead and get this pan over here. There we go. Get that pan working. We got that fire rolling. This is gonna be for our chowder. This is our chowder pan right here, where we're gonna add all our ingredients and things. So for our ingredients that we got in our chowder today, again, we're doing a cod chowder. So we got some cod right here that we cut up, diced up just into like little bitty chunks. You know what I mean? Not too small, not too big. We had some small pieces, so we just kind of cut them down into that. We got us some sliced onions. We got us some carrots, russet potatoes, corn, sliced tomatoes, sliced cherry tomatoes, broccoli, a little bit of half and half right here. Then we got a little bit of green onions, and we got some jalapeno vinaigrette from some cod that I did the other day at work for a chef's dinner that I had. And we also got a little bit of toast that we're gonna put with that as well. So y'all gonna see how we work that thing out today, you know what I mean? So let's get to it, man. Like I said, got our pan ready for our 4-hour chowder. And the first thing we're gonna put in that pan is our butter. We're not gonna use oil for this one. We're gonna use straight butter. Get you some cuts. Drop it on in there. And be generous with it. Don't be stingy with the butter. But not too much butter. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like no more than like half a stick. Yeah, because we don't want a whole lot of butter. That's about half a stick right there. I'm gonna let that melt down real quick. Steady cleaning as we go. Cleanliness next to godliness. Remember that. You know what I mean?
I think you should put that on the shirt.
What?
Cleanliness next to godliness.
It might already be on the shirt, to be honest. But if it ain't, I surely will. But I'm sure somebody got it. Could be some merch, could be on a piece of merch. I might put it on there. You know what I mean? We're gonna have it. We ain't got it right now, but we're gonna have it for sure. Yeah, we're gonna have some Chef Know It All merch, so that could be something to put on there. I doubt if it's patent, but who knows? I got water dripping from my pan. Cleaned my pans earlier before we came here. That's how you know. That water dripping from the creases of the pan and stuff. Anyway, continuing with the show. So we got our butter right there. Go open the window real quick, you know. Cause we is not trying to have no smoke alarm fiascos. You know what I mean? Y'all gonna see some of those bloopers that we done had with them smoke alarms for real. All right, so we got our butter melted down. And I didn't say it, but you're gonna have this on medium heat most of the time. You're not gonna put this on high heat. We don't want our butter to burn. We're not trying to burn none of our ingredients or nothing like that. So medium heat for that pan on your chowder. We got here, we just got a little garlic in brine. It's just garlic and like, you know, a little juice, a little marinade. Give it a little extra flavor. So we're just gonna take a couple cloves. We're just gonna chop them up. A little rough chop. They ain't gotta be perfectly diced or nothing like that. You just wanna give it a nice little rough chop. You wanna make it small enough to where you're not biting on it and can't tell that you're biting on it. But you also want it big enough to where you can still get that flavor pop out of there. I mean, yeah, see, trying to use Big Duke to cut all these this little bitty thing of garlic. Right, throw your garlic right on in there. And again, we don't need a whole lot. We're just using 2 little cloves because again, we don't want it all extra garlicky and stuff. So we can put a little bit of that brine juice. Just a little bit of that. Oh yeah. Whew. That's strong. That garlic with that butter. It's a strong mixture right there.
Is that garlic herb butter?
Is
that garlic herb butter? Imperial butter?
Nah, that's just regular old Imperial. You know what I'm saying? That's regular old butter. I ain't do the garlic herb today because I don't want extra garlic. I don't want it all extra garlicky and stuff. So we got our broth here. You see, we're getting a nice little color on there already. We're just gonna keep letting that simmer while we work on our chowder. Let that butter cook down that garlic. What we add next? Let's add in our carrots next. Let's do that. We got them soaking in some water, you know, kind of blanching a little bit, if you want to say that. Some warm water, you know. You're gonna take those and just toss them in. Let them go down. Y'all probably wondering why I didn't put the onions in first. Because the onions don't cook faster than the carrots. That's why I didn't put the onions in first. And I don't want the onions sauteed. I want the onions to be an actual ingredient in the dish. You know what I mean? I don't want it to just be sauteed onions, you know. I want it to be like, you know, them onions in there. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what we're gonna do with that. We can turn this up right now because we're trying to cook this down. We're not gonna add no salt and pepper yet because I don't want it to be over salty. Because if we salt and pepper everything, it's gonna just build up salt on top of salt on top of salt on top of salt. So what we want to do is, like I said, we're gonna add the salt. As we start getting more ingredients in the pan, we'll start adding more salt to the pan. So that's just a little tip for y'all to keep from over seasoning. Because one thing about seasoning, when you're seasoning food, you can season some food. I mean, you can put some extra seasoning if you need some salt and pepper on your food, like once it's done. But when it's over seasoned, it's done. You know, ain't nothing you can do about taking that extra salty flavor away. You know, so try to add the if you're doing something like this where you got a lot of ingredients mixed together, try not to add the salt and pepper until you get most of your ingredients mixed together. You know what I mean? Yeah. Toss those carrots around just a little bit. They get nice and buttery. You know what I mean? Next thing we're gonna throw in is our corn. And I did use frozen corn. Frozen corn is probably the only vegetable I use that's frozen. Frozen corn and frozen peas. That's probably the only one I use that's gonna actually be frozen.
You know you can't actually digest corn?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't digest. You can see. You can see it in your poop when you boo boo. So yeah, corn does not digest. It just passes through. Honestly, that don't mean you can't eat it. You know, but that don't mean it's bad for you. It just don't digest. Doesn't break down like other foods. Mix those in together. And the next thing we're gonna put in is our potatoes, because those are also gonna take a while to cook. We had those soaking in some water as well. Again, we're gonna throw those right on in the pan. And these are russet potatoes. You can use red potatoes. You can use gold potatoes. You can even use the purple potatoes or the tricolor potatoes. You know, you can use any one. I just chose russet potatoes just because that's what I had at the house. And you know, russet potatoes, they get a little softer. They get softer quicker, and then they have a lot of starch that come off of them. So that starch that come off of those potatoes is gonna help thicken up our soup for the chowder. So instead of having to use flour in our chowder, then we can just use the starch from the potatoes, and that's gonna be our thickener. Because if you don't know what a chowder is, it's a soup, but it's a thicker soup than regular chicken noodle soup or whatever, stew or whatever, tomato soup. So we're doing a chowder. So this is more like a up north dish, East Coast up north type of dish, where in the cold weather states. Now, since we got them 3 ingredients in there, we can start adding in our salt and pepper and stuff. Y'all already know I like that nature seasoning. That's what I like to use. You use what you want, salt, pepper, garlic. You can use Lowry seasoning salt. You can just use salt, pepper, whatever. I like nature seasoning. So yeah. Have a little bit of that in there. Turn our heat up a little bit. Or a little bit more. And toss that around. You can use a spoon. I like to toss in the pan because, you know, it's kind of cool. Kind of cool looking. Yeah. So we're gonna let that go. Let that just kind of start cooking down. And then what we can do with that is we can start adding our broth. And we're just gonna spoon our broth in slowly. We're not just gonna pour this whole pot of broth in here. Because we don't want our soup too watery, but we do want it to have, you know, liquid. It ain't just gonna be a all the way thick soup. It's gonna be like in the middle, like a little thick, a little loose, you know? Not too much, not too big, not too heavy, but not too light, you know what I mean? So that's what we're gonna do with that. We're gonna kind of just let that cook down. What we got to do here? Okay, never mind. So yeah, we're gonna let that cook down. We got our half and half right here. We can go ahead and throw that in the mix. And that's what's gonna give us that creamy texture to our soup, that half and half. You can use heavy cream, half and half. You can even just put milk in there, you know, whatever kind of milk you drink, you can throw that in there. So either way, however you want to do it, but you want to get some kind of creamy substance in there to, you know, make it a chowder, I guess. Anyway, eliminating ingredients. Trying to clean up as we go. Like I said, I like to clean up as I go. Now, just give that a nice little stir. And we're gonna let that simmer and cook down. Cook those potatoes down. Cook that the carrots down. Corn don't necessarily need to be cooked down, but you know, it's gonna cook it. And you want to make sure your potatoes is in that juice because that's how they gonna cook. Especially because I don't have a top. I don't have my top to this pan. So we're gonna let it cook open. Especially because I want y'all to be able to see it. You know, I don't want to be pulling the top on and off and stuff like that. So anyway, we're gonna let that go before we start adding our broccoli and all that stuff. Because again, we don't want our broccoli to overcook and get all soggy in our soup. We want it to stay a little crunchy, you know. And broccoli don't take that long to cook, especially when you're talking about boiling it and stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna let that ride and let that roll, and then, you know, we'll come back and show y'all what we got cracking. All right, so now we are back in action. Our potatoes done cooked down a little bit. We added a little more heavy cream in there. I mean, not heavy cream, half and half. Again, you can't use heavy cream, but I'm using half and half, so I want to be specific about telling y'all what I'm using right now. But yeah, we added our half and half in there. Our potatoes and got a little cooked. You see, they're getting soft over there. So now we can start adding the rest of our ingredients. So we got our broccoli right here. We're gonna throw our broccoli right on in there. And we can go ahead and add our onions in as well. Get all those in there. Excuse me. Excuse me. Whew. Pardon me, people. All right. Got that going on. Oh yeah. If y'all could just smell everything that's going on up in here right now. Let's add some more chicken broth again, because we don't want our chowder to be extra thick. You know what I'm saying? that. We're just gonna mix that up like so. Matter of fact, let me get a bigger spoon, please. Big spoon. Big spoon, big spoon, big spoon. All right. We're gonna get that in there. You see, we got that going. All mixed up like that. Now, we're gonna add in our fish next, but we wanna add in, this time we're gonna pour in a lot of broth because we're about to start adding in our fish. So we need our fish to sit in some liquid so that it can cook. You know what I mean? Turn that fire back up. Give it one more good stir. As a matter of fact, what we're gonna do, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna do this fish a different way. I just had an idea in my head, so I was gonna put it in there and let it go with it, but I wanna do it a different way now. So y'all just roll with me here, because we're switching up on the fly. In the middle of everything. So we're gonna let our veggies cook right here. We're gonna take the rest of our broth and we're just gonna pour the rest of that in there, because guess what? We can always make more. All right. Now we're gonna use that pot for our fish. And y'all probably wondering what I'm finna do with this fish in this little pot.
No, seriously, what you finna do with this fish in this little pot?
Just watch me work, brother. Watch me work. You know what I'm saying? See, we got our juice. Y'all see that? It's a little juicy, so we're gonna let it simmer down while we're working on this fish. You know what I'm saying? So, let that cook down. Submerge those vegetables in there. And let that cook down. Then we're gonna take our cod right here. Get some of our EdibleDope Seasoning. And we're gonna put it on our cod. We're gonna toss it up. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna toss that up just like that. Toss that up, put a little bit of our used cooking oil on there, just to kind of toss it around. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get another one of our limes. I'm gonna get a smaller one, not a big one. Again, we're gonna cut through it, get as much juice out of there as we can. We're gonna squeeze that right on our cod right there, just like that. Toss that up again. Get your little oil in the bottom of that pan that we were just talking about. It's already hot, and you don't want this temperature up too high because cod cooks very fast. It's very delicate, and it will break apart. But in this case, we do want it to break apart because we're going to put it in a chowder. It's not going to be a fillet, so it's cool if this breaks apart on us. All right, a little bit more oil on this. A little bit more seasoning. And I don't know if y'all can hear that, but we bubbling over here. We bubbling. So we're gonna drop our fish right in that pot. And of course, we don't have a whole lot, so we can drop all of it right in that little pot. And we're gonna let that cook down just like that. What we're gonna do is, when we plate up, we're gonna plate the fish over top of our chowder mix. So that's why we're changing up the flow of what we're doing. Because at first I was just gonna plate it up and just have it all just like that. But again, I had a different idea in my head that popped in my head, presentation wise. So we're switching it up, like I said. In the middle of the show, we're switching it up. In the middle of the show. So yeah. All right, now we got that going. I'm gonna let that simmer down. We got our cod right here cooking. Mix that up. And again, cod does not take long to cook. So this might take like 2 to 3 minutes in this little, even just in this little pot. And see, it ain't all the way breaking down, but it's starting to crumble up a little bit, and that's what we want. That's what we want. Just a little bit of a crumble up on there. We're gonna keep letting this over here simmer down. And we're gonna go ahead and give that a taste. See if we need to add any other flavor into that right there, you know what I mean? It's getting there. It's getting there. Let's throw a little EdibleDope Seasoning in there. We ain't threw that in there yet. Maybe that's what it's missing. Throw that in there. Just a little bit of balsamic vinegar in there. Literally just a little bit. A little bit of cayenne pepper. Give it just a little bit of a bite. You know what I mean? It'll give it some color as well. A little bit more salt and pepper. Let's turn our fire down on that fish because we don't want it to overcook. A bit more salt and pepper. And I think it need a little bit more of that garlic juice too. Add a little bit more of that. All right. And let's just let that finish simmering down and keep it on medium heat. Look at that. Look at that. Y'all see that? Broccoli, corn, carrots, potatoes. Got the chowder mix, onions. We still got our tomatoes here, but we're not throwing them in yet. We're not throwing them in until the end. So we don't want those cooked down. I like to have a fresh aspect to all my dishes. So, I heard somebody was in need of a chef. And if that happens to be you, then we want you to reach out to us. Whether it be for your wedding, baby shower, or even a romantic event for you and your loved one. And if you want to actually know where to reach us at, you can reach us on all social media platforms at EdibleDope Chef, or you can email us at edibledopechef@gmail.com. Now, y'all get back to that video.
But how'd you get in my house?
The door was open.
He told me the door was open.
So today our tomatoes are going to be our fresh aspect, our ingredient that we are not going to cook. You know what I mean? So yeah, you can turn it down on our fish. Boom. We're going to finish letting our chowder cook down. Let's squeeze a little bit of a lime in there. Just a little bit. Give it a little sourness. A little bit of tang. Ain't nothing wrong with a little twang in your chowder, you know what I'm saying? All right, and so we getting that nice thick consistency in that soup. It's starting to thicken up like a real deal chowder, you know what I'm saying? That's nice. That's real nice. Our fish over here is done. You know what I mean? So we can turn that burner off. Turn that off. And while we're doing that, we can start working on our toast that we got right here that I want to put with this dish. You know what I'm saying? Just a little French bread, that's it. It ain't nothing special. I cut it up in slices. Again, this is something I was using for a baby shower I did the other day as well. I made some ceviche finger sandwiches. some shrimp ceviche finger sandwiches, and they were delicious. So we're gonna turn this down. Because we are about good with that, and we don't want that to stick to our pan as well. So we turn that on low now. Been on medium, been on like medium high this whole time, but now we got it on low. So yeah, we're gonna leave that right there while we work on this toast. And what I'm gonna do with this toast is something just a little bit different as well. I got this jalapeno vinaigrette from this chef's dinner I did the other day, and I'm going to use that as like the coating. I'm gonna use the oil from it to coat.
Oh yeah, you did have a chef dinner.
Yes, sir. I had a chef dinner the other day. Man, it was fun. Yeah. It was fun, bro. Like,
what you made?
I did a 4-course dinner. So I still haven't named this salad that I did. It was but it's like a Japanese cabbage salad with sonomono cucumbers. And if you don't know what sonomono cucumbers are, they are cucumbers that are pickled in like a sweet soy liquid. This is a Japanese dish. I did a full Japanese menu. So we had that. We had a bok choy soup with a lamb meatball and fresh radishes. We did a pan-seared cod with sesame, carrots, and broccolini. And this vinaigrette actually went on top of the cod. And then we also did a dessert. I did some strawberry matcha scones. That's what I did with a strawberry glaze. You know, shout out to Chef Z for helping me out on that one, my new mentor. And shout out to boss man Wayne Watson at Morning Table for giving me the opportunity to do the chef's dinner at his establishment. So, you know, definitely a big shout out to them because they helped me make it a success. But yeah, that's what that was. That was Friday. Today is Tuesday, but that was Friday, November 7th. So yeah, that's what that was. I definitely plan on having another one. Not sure when, but I am going to have a taste test before the year is up. I'm going to have a taste test, just something I want to do for marketing purposes for Edible Dope, and you know, try to get me some new customers and clientele in here. You know, so but I am going to have another chef's dinner for sure. Can't tell you what I'm going to do for it because I don't know, but I had a great time doing that one. That was like a time where I was really in my element, and it was like, damn, like I'm really cooking on a different scale for strangers. You know, even though I've cooked for strangers plenty of times, but this one was different. Like a restaurant setting, my own menu. I made up the whole thing. It was my decision on how it was plated and how it went out and what was on the plate. So it was a great experience to be able to do that, you know. So I'm grateful for that experience for sure. Definitely put me in a different headspace as well as a chef, you know.
Good, man.
Yeah.
Good.
So
what about in like 2026? Like, I know, you know, they seen this video like maybe like in March or something.
Something like that.
You would still be doing it by then? Maybe like in April for them people?
Still be doing what?
The dinners?
Oh yeah, I'll still be doing it. Will I have another? You asking will I have another chef dinner by then?
Yeah. Like, would you continue doing them, or you think it's just?
Oh yeah, I definitely want to continue doing them because what I want to really start doing is getting into the whole pop-up restaurant type of thing, where you know I go and basically just creating my own events. You know, go around creating. You know, find a different spot, different restaurant, or even in like a different city. You know, I can go in there. And you know, just kind of create my own environment, create my own lane. You know what I mean? So that's what I want to do. You know I'm not the first one to do pop-up dinners, but I want to do it my way. So yeah, I plan on doing a lot more dinners, a lot more pop-ups. I plan on doing just a lot more events, period. You know, partnering with certain people, restaurants, different entrepreneurs, different businesses. So yeah, I plan on doing a lot more of that coming up in the future, especially in 2026. All right, so getting back to this toast, what we're doing is I'm just gonna take this vinaigrette and I'm gonna just kind of sprinkle it on each one. You know, I don't want to get a whole lot of the peppers and onions and cilantro and stuff on the bread. It's more about getting the oil on the bread, but you know, that's just going the veggies in it is just gonna kind of give it a little more personality, a little more color, a little more, you know, make it not just look like plain bread, you know. Plain bread with oil on it, you know what I'm saying? So that's what we're doing with this. We're just gonna sprinkle that over the top like that. You know. Like I said, we want to get more oil than veggies. And then we're just gonna toast this. You know, we're gonna throw this in our little toaster oven over here. We're just gonna toast this bread to go with this right here that we got cracking with our chowder. You know what I'm saying? So we can throw that right on in here. We can get that cut on. I'm just gonna chunk that right up in there for a few minutes, you know, 5 minutes or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So now we got our chowder done, we got our fish done, our bread is toasting over here. We're gonna clean it up real quick and then we're gonna be ready to plate. All right, man, we back. So it's time to get to the plating portion of the show. We're about to start plating. Y'all see we got our beautiful black fall weather plates right here. We have bowls, plates. I think it's like a light bowl. I don't know.
It's maybe a plate.
It's a plate, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna take our chowder here that we got done, and we're gonna ladle a nice portion of that right in the middle. We wanna make sure we get a little bit of everything on there. And again, this is a chowder, so it's, I mean, it can have a lot of juice in it and stuff, but this one doesn't. You know, this one, it has a lot, you know, it's really thick, but it don't have to like spread out like soup does. So that's the difference between a chowder and a soup. Chowder doesn't spread, it stick to you, you know what I'm saying? Stick to you like Wonder Bread, you know what I mean? So we put that down like that. Then we're just gonna take our fish. We're gonna put a nice little scoop on the top. You know what I mean? Scoop that fish right on the top like so. We're gonna scoop it over here. Same way. Scoop that little bit of fish on the top right there. A little bit more on this one. A little bit more on that one. Mm-hmm. A little bit more. All right. That's our fish. And now, oh, little piece that dropped. Little taste tester piece. So now we got our tomatoes right here that we sliced up. So what we're gonna do with those is we're just gonna dress them around our plates. Like I said, I didn't want them to be cooked because I wanted to add a fresh aspect to the dish. So just gonna lay those slices around like so. Lay them around, make them look nice. Don't matter how many you put on there. Just throwing a few in. Make it look good. We got a little bit of fresh thyme right here. We're gonna chop up and put a little bit of that on there as well on top. So our fresh thyme. I'm just gonna cut that up. And y'all don't talk about me how I just shifted from this way to this way trying to cut. So it's just how I cut sometimes. All right. I'm just gonna take a little bit of that, sprinkle it right over the top. More fresh thyme right there. All right. And then what we're gonna do, we got a couple of lemons right here. So limes, lemon, lime, whatever. Tomato. Anyway, this guy. Anyway, we're gonna get our limes right here, and we can place it directly on top of our chowder. Directly on top of our chowder. Bam. And we're gonna take our torch. We're gonna char that lime. Give it a nice char on the top. This is gonna be our garnish right here. My cameraman should be getting a close-up of this if he's not right now. Because this is a good shot for me to be able to post. So yeah, we're gonna give those limes just a nice little char. We don't want to burn them, but we do want to give them a nice char. See that char building on there? Around the edge right there? Yeah, that's how we're gonna do that. Yes, sir. Oh, yes. And there we have it. Our cod chowder. There we go. Y'all already know what time it is now. It's time to finish cleaning up the rest of this. We're gonna sit on down and eat. All right, y'all. So we are done with another episode 5. Again, we made a cod chowder today. Made a cod chowder with a little vinaigrette crostini on the side. You know what I mean? And of course, we always leave y'all with a little bit of mindful dope at the end of every episode. So the mindful dope for today is don't let the world make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. What I mean by that is, you know, success comes with a lot of envy and hate. Not that I'm experiencing that right now, but I just know that's something that comes with being successful. You got people who don't want to see you successful, who don't like that you're successful and they aren't. And you got people, even in your family, who will make you feel guilty because you're successful and they're not. Don't let the world make you feel guilty. Always put yourself first. And go for family, friends, co-workers, and y'all might not want to hear this, but even your children sometimes. You got to put yourself before them too. Because if you ain't good, they're not going to be good. So always put yourself first and always choose you. That's the mindful dope of the day, okay? Another episode, Chefs Know It All, Edible Dope. And yeah, we out of here, man. You know, y'all go be great and choose you.